Rev up your engines. All right, today we have a Ford, a Focus. The AC isn't blowing cold enough, so I'm going to show you how you can diagnose and fix it, hopefully without spending a whole bunch of money. Now, there's many things that can go wrong with an AC system, but we'll open the hood and check the #1 problem, and that's being low on refrigerant. I'm going to look around here until we find where the refrigerant lines are. There's a high side and there's a low side. So let's start looking around. Well, I don't see the stupid thing anywhere. You know why? Because the Ford engineers are swines. They've hidden the stupid AC low pressure line inside the fender. So I have to jack the car up, take the wheel off. So we got to pull the wheel off. Stick that over here. Then we got to pull the fender liner off. Now why do they do this? Because they can, and they're swines. There. Now you can see there's the cap where you can put the gauge on. All the other cars have them on the top. You can just add them. You got to take all this off. They're just swines. You go to the dealer, then they'll rip you off because they know where it is, and it's a pain to do. Just absolutely stupid, but that's how Ford is. So we get the low pressure gauge, the below one, and we'll hook it up here. It snaps on, then we turn the valve down. Now it's open and we can read the pressure. The static pressure doesn't mean much. We need to turn it on, see what the pressure is with it running. So start her up. Put it on full blast AC. Now as we can see, it's coming down. It's going too low, it should be higher. And every once in a while it shuts itself off and goes too high. Whenever you get a car where the pressure starts higher, goes lower, 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 then it shuts off and then comes down, hopefully that's just because it's low on refrigerant. Once it starts sucking, if the pressure gets too low, the computer starts the compressor off, the pressure goes up. It should just stay at 35 psi or so. Since it's hot today, maybe even 40, 42 psi. It's low on refrigerant, but we don't know what's in the system. This is an old car with 200-something thousand miles on it. So you can see right here that it takes 740 grams, 0.740 kilograms of 740 grams. And also we have no idea if there's air in the system, who's worked on it all these years. So we're gonna evacuate the system with a pump it all out. Then the system will be empty and we will fill it correctly with 740 grams of R130A refrigerant. Realize if somebody gets air in the system, it can work, but it screws up everything. And if you have more than like 3 or 4 parts of water vapor, per million parts of refrigerant, the water vapor will screw the system up. We're going to empty it all out and fill it up with a factory load. And as a general rule of thumb, evacuate it for about an hour. That'll get all the moisture and air. Anything that's in the system, we start from fresh. See, the pressure here is about -30. That's what you want. It's a full vacuum. Sucked everything out. So, shut the gauge off and we'll hook the headline up to our tank of refrigerant. Now, you can see it's at 0. We're going to put in 740 grams. Don't get confused. 0.740 kilograms is 740 grams. It's a metric system. At least it makes sense amongst itself. Then we'll open up a gauge and it'll start going in. Now, realize one thing. Okay, I'm a mechanic. I got big 30-pound cans and a reverse scale. You might want to add it with those little cans you buy. The only problem is how you're going to get 740 grams in, because the cans are 500, 600, whatever. They're different. If you do want to do it that way, you can. You can use these smaller cans. You see this one's got 340 grams, right? But you need 740. You'd put 2 of those cans in, then you get another can and put it on a little Postal Scale. I bought a Postal Scale. It does up to like 15 pounds, and you stick it on there, and then you just wait until the rest of the grams are in, then you turn the gauge off. I use the big can, but you can use smaller cans. It's very hard to get the right amount with the small cans unless you use the Postal Scale. Then you can do just what I'm doing, only instead of having this big can on top of a big scale, you got a little can on top of a little scale. And where we go, it's starting to fill up now. This is where you want 740 on the dot. And is it blowing cold? Yes, it is. Now you can hear the compressor sometimes making a little noise. There it goes. It's worn. There's no arguing that. Realize this thing has 209,000 miles on it. So in an attempt to make it last a little longer, we're going to put an ounce of AC oil to see if the compressor will last any longer. I'm a mechanic, so I have tools to do it. I use this little squeeze pump that squeezes the ounce in and measures it. But if you want, you can buy a can of the refrigerant that has an ounce of oil in it and use that. Squeeze it till about an ounce is in. Measures it here, and we hope it quiets it down some, because if not, it's going to need a new compressor. Brought the fender back on the fender liner, and down goes the tire. We'll take it for a spin. Well, so far so good. The oil seems to be working because it's not making the horrible rashes noises it was making before. We'll see how it goes. Hey, it's over 100 degrees outside today. and it's really cooling me quite well now. Let's hope it lasts. The noises went away. You never know. It's got 200,000 miles. It is a Ford. The compressor's warm, but it's blowing nice and cold now, so just hope. So there we have it, nice cold air. What did we learn? Sometimes the only thing a system needs is to be evacuated out because you don't know what's in it, if there's air in it or water vapor. Fill it up with a factory load, and in this case, since the compressor was noisy and it has 200,000 miles, we took a chance, added an ounce of AC oil, and as you can tell, it's not making horrible clacking noises. It's fixed for the time being, but it's nice and cold. Hey, cheap car was bought for $1,000 or so, and the AC's cold now, at least for the time being. This is how you can fix things on the cheap. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Tony77 says, Scotty, my speedometer goes all the way up when I start the car, but then it goes down zero when I'm driving. Only the tachometer works. 2009 Corolla. Here's what you want to do. It's not supposed to jump the whole way up and down. From my experience of those, your dash is broken. The speedometer unit inside the dash, here's how you could tell it for sure. If you find that your odometer is still giving the mileage, this is 1 mile, 2 mile as you drive, but the speedometer doesn't work, it's definitely the dash, because that would mean that everything on the transmission to the dash is working because the odometer is going. Your miles per hour is broken. You're going to have to get a new dash unit. Now, it happens on when they get old. A lot of guys go to a junkyard and buy a used one. You go to the Toyota deal, it's going to cost a fortune. You go to a junkyard, get a used dash, they just pop in and out. It takes 10, 15 minutes to pop it out, pop it in. Away you go. That's what you probably do. Go to a junkyard, buy a used dash, and pop it in. It's an '09 Corolla. There's plenty of them in junkyards that got wrecked, and usually the dashes are okay, and you could just install it in your car. It'll have a different mileage on it, but who cares, you know? Unless you get lucky and find a car with the same mileage. Odds against that are pretty high. Matthew Nemeth says, I got an '05 Nissan Altima with hard shift. Loud when I drive. When I start it, it bumps on the tranny. I got 235,000 on the odometer. Hell, well, I'm amazed it's still even running. Your transmission's going out. I see that all the time. It's shifting loud, and then you said it bumps in the transmission. You hear the noise. It's just internal wear on the transmission or the differential, which on that vehicle is part of the transmission. It's built in. The tranny and differential are one unit. One of them's worn. It's an '05 Altima. It's not worth much. You got a lot of mileage on it. My advice is you might get lucky because CarMax and all those places are still paying high dollar for used cars. See what they offer you. They offer you money. Take it. Get another car. It's at the end of its lifespan. And to fix that transmission, you can spend anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to do it correctly. It's not worth doing on that car with that kind of mileage. It just isn't. Or let's say you're hard up on funds, you know, just drive it. And then if it finally breaks, maybe try a junkyard used transmission as a guess. It's a gamble because Nissans have weak trannies, and a used one from a junkyard might not be that good. As long as it runs, drive it. Check the fluid. As long as the fluid's okay, just drive it until it dies. And then either get rid of the car or put a used transmission. Robin says, should I fix my car or not? I got an '09 Scion XB. I love it. It's got 115,000 miles on it. I had to replace the alternator twice. Now I'm told it needs to be done again. I take care of my cars. Now, of course, this needs spark plugs, new pistons, and O-rings. Should I fix it or look for something else? All right. Well, it's a Toyota product, and it will run. Now, if you keep going through alternators, you either got an electrical short or somebody's selling you crappy alternators. If you're buying your alternator at a discount auto parts store, it's probably crap made in Mexico or China. Go elsewhere. Get a better alternator because they don't eat them up. That's generally just because you're getting cheap alternators or you got a weak battery. If your alternator is new and your battery's weak, a weak battery will eat up the alternator. You might need a battery too, have that checked. But pistons, yeah, because they burn oil. '09s will burn oil. But how much oil does it burn? My grandson's got one. He went from Tennessee to Rhode Island back. He only used 1.5 quarts of oil on the whole trip. No big deal. Just add the oil. It's cheap. I would just keep driving it myself. Spark plugs, that costs nothing. Do it yourself. 115,000 miles is nothing on a Toyota product. Yeah, those were a bad engine. They burn oil. But like I say, if you keep oil in them, they can still last a really, really long time. They're well made, and that kind of mileage is still low enough that I'd keep the thing. Chase Boy says, I got a 2001 Honda. I hear a clicking noise coming from the glove box. I got 180,000 miles. Probably a relay. Behind the glove box, there are a million relays. Take the glove box out, see which one is clicking. If you're lucky, you can pull the relay out, put a new relay in, and that fixes it. Now, if that doesn't fix it, that means that you have an electrical short in that particular circuit. Let's say it's a relay for the AC system. Either the AC blower fan was going out, there was a problem in the wiring to the blower fan, or the AC compressor is going out. It'll keep clicking on and off because it's shorting out. And relays are basically a safety feature temperature. They keep things from blowing fuses and melting wires. The power gets to once, so click on, click off, click on, click off, click on, click off. Sometimes it's just because the relay's bad. Take it out, replace it. Pray it's it, because if not, then you're going to have to trace down the whole line of what does that relay feed, see if the stuff it feeds are bad or if the wiring is going bad. But it's relay. Relays click. Pray it's just the relay and not something else. Sometimes it's the relays, but unfortunately, a lot of times it's something else, like the blower motor or the AC compressor. With Hondas, it's often the AC compressors themselves that go out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.